We're going to buy a used RV, an older one, make it fit and suit our needs. Be kind of like, clay or Play-Doh.
Well, I thought I'd go camping for a while, and now I'm ready to come back to work.
Be, flexible and...
But now they're having some concerns if they ever do want to buy back into a house.
Let's have a game plan so that if something does happen...
But then, things change.
Do everything, plan everything ahead of time.
That just doesn't fit where we are in life.
If you're new to our channel...
And I think by the time that you get to 60 years old, you've made mistakes in your life, and hopefully you've learned from them. And that's where we're at.
Hey roamers, I'm Jamie.
I'm Linda.
And this is Roaming with Rosie.
It's so funny, I wish you could see Dexter right now. It's like he's sitting here watching us like he's the audience. He's just quietly watching the show. We have an audience.
But if you say his name, he turns his head away because he doesn't want to be involved. If you're new to our channel, we welcome you, and we've also enjoyed hearing from many of you.
And when you first see this episode, I will be a little more than a week away from stepping away from my career of 31 years so that we can travel full time.
Right. Now last year, because of the pandemic, we all got kind of stuck in our homes. And prior to that, we were ready to basically sell our house, move into the RV, and take off. But because of the pandemic, it was kind of a blessing. What we did is we kind of reevaluated everything because we were watching some other YouTube channels and they were having problems actually getting into finding campsites, and they were basically closing things down. So luckily for us, we hadn't followed through with everything we were going to do as of yet. We were still just getting all our ducks in a row. So that kind of made us change our game plan a little bit as far as how we wanted to approach this RV life.
Yeah, and we talked to other RVers who did sell everything, and there were some of them who in the last 6 months even have said they wish that they didn't do it that way. Something inside just kept telling us it didn't feel right for us to sell everything. Maybe because we're a little older.
Yeah, I mean, the people that we're talking about are probably 10 years younger than us, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm 60, Linda's 61.
Yeah, you just had to throw that in.
I had to throw that in. She's a whopping 6 months older than me.
But way more mature.
Yes, I'm very immature for my age. I still enjoy the Flintstones and all that kind of stuff, so that kind of shows you what kind of maturity and level I have.
You've been watching the Munsters all weekend too.
Because it's Halloween.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a Halloween Munster marathon, so I had to watch that.
Okay.
So we want to do everything where we pay for it. We have no loans or payments that we have to make because that's going to make things a lot less stressful for us. So what we ended up doing, a lot of people sold everything. They bought a brand new truck and a brand new big fifth wheel or a brand new motorhome or whatever it may be. What we ended up doing, we said, we're going to buy a used RV, an older one, make it fit and suit our needs, and then travel that way.
And some of those people who did sell everything, and they're still happy about it, but now they're having some concerns if they ever do want to buy back into a house or condo or whatever, that they won't be able to. And so that's where we're like, yeah, that's what we kept worrying about, was that we don't think that we're going to want to do this forever. We want to do it for as long as we can and as long as we enjoy it.
Because of our age, we're kind of looking at it and going, we need to be realistic here. Let's have a game plan so that if something does happen, or say we just do this for 2 years and say, I don't want to do this anymore, we can go back and have a home base to go to. Because once we take off, she's left her job. I still have my insurance agency, but because I'm self-employed, us qualifying for a home would probably not happen.
Be careful, because If you decide to make a location change, move your home base to somewhere else, which is what we're going to be doing, and we'll tell you more about that too. Now you've left your job and you've lived where you lived before. If you wanted to get another home loan, you know how that goes, and they're being way more careful about home loans now than they were 15 years ago.
Yeah, they're a lot more strict now.
Right, and so you have to show that you have the same career when you get there, or something that sounds secure, not like, well, I thought I'd go camping for a while and now I'm ready to come back to work.
Right.
So that doesn't fly.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why we're figuring plan everything ahead of time, where we can have everything all paid for, and that's not even an issue. It's no concern. We can just go do what we need to do, and it's no longer an issue.
You know, a lot of people are looking at reevaluating where they are and where their values are and where their joy comes from, and wondering if they can tweak that. And so way before the pandemic, we knew that we wanted to do this, and we knew that we don't want to wait till we're 65. So that was huge. I've worked with seniors, and many of you heard me say this before, but I've spent 31 years working with seniors, and the biggest piece of advice I've gotten the entire time is figure out what you want to do and do it. Don't wait. And
now, you know, there's probably younger people out here watching, and they can have a completely different game plan because they have a lot more years ahead of them where they can make up for decisions that they make.
What are the things that we expect to happen 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if we had sold everything?
Right.
And, you know, one of them is, did we want to deal with age-related illness or issues while living in an RV? Like a lot of our friends, they're like, yeah, I got no problem with that. That's just fine with me. For us, that sounded like not a good idea. So our plan was to keep this house. This was a house we wanted to retire in, and we tried to figure out how we could do that. So what we came up with was renting to seasonal medical travelers. Right now, especially with COVID, but all the time, the hospital company that I work for has relied on traveling nurses, traveling doctors, and just like you do on your job, you know, you figure out, here's the goal, here's where we want to get to, what are the things that we got to do to get there, and you work with your team, and sometimes your team in this situation is yourself and your partner in life, and you tweak it and you come up with different ideas exactly how you would do on your job. So that's what we've done.
Yeah, well, we kind of did it faster than we thought we were going to. I mean, it was kind of in the back of our mind that as we were traveling, we may find another place.
We've said that, yeah?
Yeah, we said that in other videos where we might find some place that we would like to relocate to that would give us the opportunity to not have a mortgage, have a home base that was, you know, bought and paid for, and all that kind of stuff, and be able to park the motorhome and everything, because here where we live now, we have an HOA where we cannot park the motorhome, and it's very inconvenient.
Know what your plans are, know what your goals are, and that's why we knew that with these expenses that we were facing with this house, that this might not be the right house for us to be rigid and say we have to save it, we have to keep it at all costs. So the other point we want to make is, if you do decide that keeping a home is important to you, what can you be flexible with? Can you be flexible to move that home? If you were already planning to get into your RV and travel full time and sell your house, then you have to ask yourself, am I wanting to stay here because this is where my family is, but I was already going to sell everything and travel in an RV, so I was already planning to just travel back to see them for now. If those are all possibilities for you, then maybe you could relocate that home base somewhere within a day's drive of where your family is.
You know, we kind of shot over to New Mexico. First place we went to was up north near I-40, a little north of I-40 near Farmington and Bloomfield.
Yeah. And we drove to Durango, Colorado. And that was a 50-mile drive from Farmington. And when you got up towards the border and you crossed the border, it didn't look any different. There was nothing different as far as the landscape, the climate, nothing. But the prices
It just said colorful Colorado on a sign.
Yeah, that's all it said. And the same river's flowing right down through both states.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking on Zillow and whatever else I can, what is this area worth right here? And then we crossed over, what's that worth? There was a difference of $300,000 to $400,000 at least for the exact same size property, exact same climate, exact same land, exact same river. And so that's what we're talking about. So if we're able to just move to the state next door and we can make all this happen and not have any mortgage at all and not have all those extra expenses that we have here, why not?
After we checked out the northern part of New Mexico, we made plans to shoot down to the southern part of New Mexico, down near Silver City and Las Cruces. And the first part of it, we stayed in Silver City. That was more to basically hook up with a friend of ours who we saw back in January down in Quartzsite, Mark Guido from Grand Adventure. If you haven't checked out his channel, go ahead and check it out. It's called Grand Adventure. We hung out with him and his wife for a few days, had a really great time, and that's part of the reason why we want to be able to do this RV lifestyle.
And once we made that announcement last month that we were going to be moving our home base to New Mexico, we heard from a lot of you, either on YouTube or on our other, Facebook and stuff, that really resonated with a lot of you, that you have admired this RV life that you're watching on YouTube, but you're not quite comfortable with how some people got into it. And that's what's cool, because it's customized for whatever you need. And so a lot of you, this was really hitting, your heart of you still want to have a place to come back to and that safety net. When you're younger and you first buy a house, you're getting into the real estate market. You're hoping to have this investment. Now, I don't know what you think, but we didn't make an investment so our kids could have it. We didn't work this long, this hard, this long to be able to leave it to our kids. I mean, now it's our time.
Right.
So we decided that selling everything and moving into the RV, that would just get us out of the market. And we're not ready to be at that point because we still want to have that cushion, that real estate that we built up for so long. My parents had paid off their house over many, many years, 50 years. And when they needed to move, or I needed to move back there, which wasn't going to happen, or they needed to move to where we were so that I could manage their care, which was quite a blessing. I wasn't in a situation where I had to take care of my parents, because that home that they had, they were able to sell that in order to pay for them to go into assisted living. That's another huge reason that we don't want to sell everything, is we want that security, that investment later. And some of you may look at reverse mortgages later, and then you bring somebody into your home to care for you. But that's kind of money in the bank. And definitely not talking about getting a second to go buy an RV. If you are over a certain age, this isn't the time to do that.
No, and the plan is to actually decrease your debt and not have that, so you don't have that stress as you're traveling down the road. What we're talking about is traveling without having to work full-time at all, or very minimal, and being able to go out and enjoy yourself and not have to worry about clocking in or answering phones or doing any of that kind of stuff. So you don't want to increase your debt. We're trying to decrease all the debt load as much as possible.
The best way to make your savings work for you is to not have any expenses, or as little as you can.
Right.
So that's another reason. So what are the ways that you can reduce your expenses? Can you find a smaller home and stay in your community? If that's what you want to do, then possibly you can. And so for us, that wasn't really an option, because we wanted to be able to park the RV on our lot and things like that. So it actually would have been a bigger property. The house that we're in right now, this house was to be our retirement home.
What we were trying to accomplish just wasn't doable here in Arizona.
Some of the RVers, full-time RVers after last year and not being able to go anywhere have decided to buy RV lots where they own it, and so they're not paying rent on that lot, and they can rent it out when they're traveling, and that seems like a really great idea for them. From Yuma all the way over to Bisbee, there are a whole bunch of RV lots where you buy a lot, you don't pay, you might pay a small HOA for maintenance, but your utilities are there. They usually provide like a patio area?
Yeah, some of them have like what they call like a little casita. Your RV is supposed to be your residence, and then that's a place where you can take off for as long as you want to, come back, and you have that home base to basically live at in your RV.
Right, so we talked about that a little bit earlier, and you can also rent out that space depending on the park. But we met a lot of people who were coming from Colorado. As we said, Colorado is as expensive as California.
Right.
And so they had sold everything, and they were moving to this kind of a lot so that they would have their house, that they had the investment in their home was now going to work for them. We also met some people that were doing the same thing. They were going to spend the winters down here on their RV lot and their summers back up in Colorado, and they were able to afford that. So there's all different kinds of things that fit. For us, that wasn't really what we want to do. As we said earlier in the video, we don't want to grow old in our RV. We don't think.
But you never know. I mean, nothing's set in stone. You know, you can't say I'm going to do this forever, because you just can't. You know, there's too many variables.
But you want to set yourself up as best as you can to be able to take opportunities as they come up. And so when we were younger, we made impulsive decisions that sometimes left us starting over again. And, you know, we tried different careers, all kinds of things. My career was a complete accident. Nothing I had planned, nothing I went to school for. So when you're young, that's what you're supposed to do. But as you get a certain age, you still want to make secure, informed choices, but it's good to be flexible. And I think anybody, if you're watching this right now, you're already interested in being flexible. You're interested in doing something nomadic if you can. And so I think we're kind of speaking to like-minded people.
Yeah, preaching to the choir.
Yeah. The other thing that some of you who might still be going, well, I don't know if I really want to move from this area. I have all my friends here and my kids are here, my grandkids. Weigh that in. Yeah, so if you're worried about making friends, think about it. If you're already an owner of an RV and you already travel, you probably talked to people already in RV parks, but you had a home base to go back to, so you didn't really pursue that potential friendship. Well, once you're out doing this and you're doing things on social media, Facebook or whatever, it's easy to stay in touch with people.
You know, prime example, we were coming back from New Mexico. I pull into a rest stop, and what pulls right next to us? We have a 2006 Alfa Sia. What pulls next to us? 2006 Alfa Sia, who somebody just bought it from Florida. They bought it on the internet, drove it all the way back from Florida, and we happened to stop in the same rest stop at the same time. And we stood out there for, I don't know, 30 minutes or so, just talking and kind of exchange information.
And so there's all these ways that you're going to be able to make new friends, for sure. Right. We know that our plan now extends to what we're going to do later when we tire of the RV life. We hope our experiences and our thoughts help you to get a plan together for your RV life, your road life, whatever the next stage of your life is going to be.
Yeah, and if you have enjoyed our videos, we'd really feel honored if you would share this with your friends and family.
If you want to support our channel, we'd really appreciate it if you'd use the links that are down below in the description. We get a tiny commission, and sometimes we can offer you a discount too on the things that you purchase.
And that's at no cost to you.
Right, no cost to you.
Right.
Links down below in the description.
And if you're not yet a subscriber, make sure and hit that subscribe button.
And do ring that bell, because then you'll be notified every time we upload a new video.
And make sure to leave a comment so you can be part of the conversation.
Until next time.
See ya.